Hi guys, this is Deborah Clutter. I have a new long arm project I'm working on, and I think I'm going to use this one to enter in the quilt show that we have coming up for my guild. And this is a quilt pattern that I made, and it will be up on my website, and by the time you see this video I'll have it up there, and you can look in the description and find the link to the download site, and it is called Curveball. I know, not a very creative name, but anyway, it's a real simple pattern to do. You have to use some templates. I 3D printed my templates, but you can put them on freezer paper, and it's kind of pieced just like an orange peel, or a, well, they call it a Peter Paul. I don't remember, or even a wedding ring. It's kind of pieced like that. Anyway, I'm going to custom quilt this. I already know what I'm going to do on it, and I've already basted down the quilt. I'm just trying to decide, do I want to baste the whole thing, or do I want to quilt it and baste it as I go? Kind of leaning towards that. Normally I would probably baste the whole thing down first. I don't know, it just depends. So I had the belts on, and I stitched in the ditch along the white border. I'll show you along this white border and the top white border. And then I took the belts off, and I'm going to stitch in the ditch around here. Not here, just around the white area. And then, I don't know. I think I'll try to quilt the top and see how that goes, and then maybe quilt and baste. The only problem with basting and quilting is this is going to shrink a lot, and so it makes basting the rest of the quilt down a little bit harder than if you just did it all at the same time. Now I'm kind of talking myself out of it, I think. So I want some bobbins of white. I'm going to use white, and I'm going to use this variegated. I think this is, it's probably rainbow. No, it's Fantastico by Superior Threads, so it's a variegated. I don't have a ton of it, but I'm going to use that and these circles. My husband and our anniversary is coming up, so I told him I wanted a new camera for our anniversary. So that's what I got, is a new camera. So I'm just going to start out a little bit all over the place here, and then let's see if I can start the mode. There we go. And then this is how I stitch in the ditch. I'm sure I could probably do this with the computer, but by the time I set that up and then having to babysit it to make sure it goes where I want it to go, it's usually not worth it. So this is called the Flower of Life, and I'm going to be using this pattern in the circles. And I've used this before on this particular quilt pattern, and it looks really good. This, I'll put a 1/4 inch border around the middle before I stitch this, or I'll stitch it out a 1/4 inch smaller than the boundary, and I'll kind of show you how I'm going to do that. Well, it took me about an hour to do the stitch in the ditch. I was thinking 3 hours. Probably took me an hour. I had dinner, I came back, and I finished it. So I went ahead and did one block so I could figure out how I wanted to do it, and I think it turned out really well. I think that's going to look good. So I think since I have the white in, I'll just go ahead and do all of those, and I'll show you how I set it up. And so here's the one I just did, and I drew a boundary, so I'll just go ahead and delete that. We don't need that. Whoops. And then we're going to go up to draw a boundary. So if you have another type of long arm, and you just need to figure out how to either draw a boundary or place a pattern in a confined boundary. So on a Gammill, it is draw boundary. I'm going to use my keyboard on my Gammill to pick some points around the edge of this middle piece. It doesn't have to be, really accurate, but I'm trying my best. Since they're not curves, they're kind of lines, so it doesn't look great, but we don't need it to. So yeah, a lot of little points. Then I get close to the end, I'm just going to close drawing and exit. All right, we broke thread, or ran out of thread, so I'm just going to cancel. And I still have my roller plate on. And yes, we're out of thread. So the problem with it breaking thread where it did, I am not sure where it stopped. And I mean, because this doesn't look like it's quilted, but I don't know where it is in the pattern. So kind of makes it difficult to figure out where I need to go, because it ended up stitching all of this, came back down here. I kind of feel like I kind of feel like I want to start here, even if it's going to stitch over this, because I just don't know. And the problem with this too is I think it has more than, I don't know. Let's try it. We'll try starting here. Like I said, I don't have any idea where it's supposed to be at. And cross my fingers that this is going to work. So it already did this part. No, it wasn't too bad. I mean, we have a little bit of overstitching where it went, but I mean, unless I take it all out, it wasn't really a good way of figuring it out. All right, here's how I set up the center circle. So I'm going to go in and start a draw boundary on my computer. If you don't have a Gammill, it's going to be something else. And then I'm just going to draw a circle all the way around the edge of my circle. So quite a few clicks. Custom quilting with the computer always seems to take longer to me than if you just did something, freehand in it. Doesn't necessarily have to be perfect. And then go ahead and close it, and then we'll take you to the computer. Okay, so here is the computer, and here is our boundary we just drew. I'm going to go ahead and move my circle. I already have it in here from a previous one I set up. But before I do that, I need to go to here, and I need to convert this to a pattern. Click on it, and then echo pattern, and then I want inside 0.25 inches. So over here on the side it says 0.25 inside, and then click OK, and then convert that to a boundary, and then we can delete the other one. Now we can take our pattern and move it over here. It's got some weird squiggly. That's okay. We just kind of need to know where the 1/4 inch is. And you can see that it's pretty much the same as the other ones. The thing I want to do on my long arm is kind of place my long arm in these corners and try to get it lined up. So I'm just going to move my pattern around a little bit, just so that it can look like I tried to line it up. Okay, so now you can kind of see what I was talking about. I'm trying to set this point in the middle of my line where my long arm is. It's not perfectly straight, so each one is a little bit different. But in doing that, I can't actually get the middle exactly right. So to make a half square circle, or half square circle, a half a circle or a 1/4 circle, you're just going to draw your boundary. So you're going to go to your draw boundary, and then you're going to bring your pattern in. So I have my full pattern here. I'm going to click on my boundary, go to convert to pattern, click on it again, and click echo pattern. And I have it set up at 0.25, and I want to choose inside. Click OK. And then while I have it highlighted, I'm going to go convert to boundary, then select the outside and delete that, and then take my circle and place it, and then it's not going to be perfect. It looks like it's a little bit off. I'm going to go to my nodes that are like this, so I can kind of stretch it around. Just want to get it in the boundary, and it's important to make sure that this outside line is inside your boundary, because you don't want to cut it off. All right, so then you're just going to go to fill inside, and there's your half circle, and then from here you can take and try to straighten it out some more so that it kind of goes into the corners a little bit better, and then you would just stitch it out. So you're going to do the same for the 1/4 circle, same way, except for you're just going to have a 1/4 circle. You're just going to try to line it up. I want to show you the progress I'm making on the quilting and how it looks. I think it's looking very gorgeous, and the quilting looks pretty good. I am finished with the center of the quilt, and I just need to do the border, and this is how I decided to do the white border. It's just 1 inch squares, and I just did a little fill in there, and I think it looks pretty good. All right, I'm on the top border, and there goes nothing. See how this goes. I'm not sure what to do in the little triangles yet.
All right, I had to speed this up and I'm just doing some freehand feathers and I actually went about this maybe the hard way. I didn't do all the other feathers on the other borders like this because I did the feathers and then I came back and I did the inside of the feathers. And on the rest of the borders, I just did them all at once. So I'm just going to go down to the end and then I'm going to do some kind of a fill around the feathers to make them stand out a little bit. And then you'll see me go back and do the inside of the feathers. Like I said, it's not something I usually do. I just wasn't thinking about exactly what I wanted to do, and I didn't like the way the feathers looked without it. So I just went back and filled them in. Quite fast. I apologize, but I'm trying to make the video as short as possible. I just wanted to say thank you for everybody that watches my video and for all the comments that you leave. I read each comment and I try to comment on all the comments. And thank you for buying my 3D printed products. I've had quite a few of you that have bought those, and I really appreciate everybody that watches or subscribes to my videos. So I finished the feathers on the top border and on the little triangles on the edge of the quilt, and I think they turned out really well. Just need to turn it and finish the other sides.
So I think this is the fourth day that I have been working on this quilt. And I finished all the top and the bottom border. And so the last border I have to do is this peak border on the side, but I'm going to turn the quilt instead of trying to hack my way through it. So all I have to do is pull this off like this. Ooh, I'm rolling a little too much there. And then pull this one off. Oops. Works a little better when it's a little tighter there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and load it.
I'm just going to go ahead and staple my quilt back onto the leaders. And it's pretty easy. This literally took me just a couple of minutes to pull it off and then put it back on as I turn the quilt. So not too hard. I still don't like turning the quilt, but this way is much easier and faster.
Here is the finished quilt. I got the binding on. You can see the border design. I think it turned out really good. I did put this in my dryer and put it on the steam setting so it would crinkle up a little bit. And you can see what I did in the center here. So I just did every other one and kind of filled in here so that the feathers would stand out a little bit. And I think that looks pretty good. And I like this border the way I did it. I did have one problem in one side of the border. And you can see I just did freehand feathers on the edge here. And then some little feathers in here. I don't know which border it is. One of them didn't line up as well as I'd like it to, but I don't think anybody else will notice, so I think it's fine. And I do like this design in here in the circles. I think it turned out really pretty. What do you guys think? I hope you like this quilt. I will put this quilt on my website and the pattern will be for free. And here's what I did to the back. So it kind of looks like its own quilt on the back. I tried to make sure it was kind of centered. And so if you don't want to look at the front, you can use the back. And there's the binding on the back and the binding on the front. So go to my website, declutterstudio.com, under the downloads, and you'll see this pattern if you want to give it a try. It is curved piecing, but they're big excuse me, big pieces, so it actually goes pretty fast and it's really easy to do. If you like this video, give me a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.